Hello again, everybody. If you're new here, then welcome. My name is Elizabeth. I do weekly videos here all about femininity, homemaking. Sorry, that's my baby with a tin in the background. And I'm on a journey from being a feminist to a feminine wife. And part of that has been finding faith and exploring what the Bible has to say about husbands and wives, about what kind of models the Bible offers us in terms of femininity and womanhood. So I had quite a few requests for this video. You look like such a little monkey. You look way so chunky. Quite a few requests for this video in terms of resources that I've been using in this past couple of years since I started exploring faith and then ultimately entering the Catholic Church last year. No, just over a year ago. It'll be 2 years in May. So yeah, almost 2 years being a Catholic. That's crazy. What resources I've been using on that journey to become a more biblical wife, I suppose, more embrace biblical femininity rather than just femininity. So I have a few things that I really have loved using that I wanted to share with you. And the first one is actually a teeny tiny book of Saint Therese of Lisieux. So she's a very popular Catholic saint. She died when she was only 24. She was a nun. And this little book is just her own words, her own diary, all about kind of her little way. And it's all about kind of being small like a child and coming to Jesus like that, offering him up loads of small little acts of love during your day. And she gives some great examples, like when she's doing the laundry with another nun, and this nun keeps splashing her in the face, and Saint Therese just kind of offers up. She doesn't react. She doesn't show any annoyance. In fact, she actually makes a conscious effort to move closer to that nun and spend more time with that nun who keeps splashing her in the face with water, and is totally unaware that she's doing anything annoying. And Saint Therese kind of offers that up as a little act of love to Jesus. So I found this really humbling and inspiring to read, and sometimes when I'm having a difficult moment or there's kind of some sacrifice that I need to do, I think I'm just offering it up to Jesus now, and that helps me reframe kind of any annoyance that I might have, and refocus on loving that person and being more patient and understanding with them ultimately. So that's the first one. I think that was about maybe £3 on Amazon. I'll try and link it below. That's great. I'm sure you could get a much bigger collection of her quotes and her work, and the things that she wrote about, but this is great. It's kind of pocket size. I can take it in a handbag if I want to, which I've done, and it was a nice little gift actually last year from one of my stepdaughters to me for Christmas, so that was very kind of her. The second book that I would like to recommend specifically to wives out there who might be looking for kind of a no-nonsense approach to biblical femininity, I would highly recommend Steph Gordon's book, Ask Your Husband. This is great. Actually, my husband bought this for me, and I needed this book. I just didn't know that I needed this book. So when he bought it for me, we'd already been watching Tim Gordon quite a bit, and he has a lot of really great things to say as a traditional Catholic, so we found him very useful when we were kind of first exploring the faith, or my husband was kind of reverting because he was raised a Catholic. And one day my husband said, "I've bought you a book." And I was like, "Great, what book is that?" And he was like, "There you go, it's this one." And I was like, "Ask Your Husband." What? And I was still, it's going to take maybe a long time, maybe the rest of my life, to kind of unpack my feminist upbringing, and get all of those kind of negative habits out of me, but definitely I was more feminist then when he gave me this book, because kind of on the inside I was like, okay, well, we agree that you're the head of the household and that I should respect you and that I should follow what you say, but you just bought me a book saying ask your husband. Like, isn't that a little bit blunt? But this is a great book. So Steph does a really great job of kind of unpacking the scriptures and also unpacking what the church fathers and popes have said about the role of women, and ultimately, kind of leads you to the conclusion that, women should be homemakers. It's a really vitally important role for the good of society and for the, raising of strong men and good women for future generations. You need to have a loving wife, a loving mother at home, looking after all of those things and making sure that things don't fall by the wayside. So I found this really helpful. Steph gives some good kind of real life examples how she puts it into practice in her own marriage, and really kind of if you were a Christian, even if you weren't a Catholic, and you're just looking for guidance from the Bible and the Church Fathers on what does it actually mean, should women work? If you're looking for kind of answers to any of those difficult questions, this is a great book to be reading. So I've got that on my bookshelf, and sometimes when I'm having like a little bit of a feminist relapse or I'm struggling with stuff, I think I need to read a bit of this again. So I pull it out and I just remind myself, yeah, okay, so this is what the Bible actually says, that's why I shouldn't be doing this, and it's just a good reminder, it's a good resource. So I'll be keeping that one at a handy spot on my shelf. So the next one, this book, it's funny how God kind of sends you little resources when you need them, and you weren't even kind of actively looking for it, but in a way it's like delivered into your hands. And I don't know where I heard about this book, but my goodness, I needed this book. I would highly recommend, actually, every Christian, I think, should read this book. And even if you're not a Christian, but I think especially if you are, this is such a wonderful book. It's called How to Be Free from Bitterness and Other Essays on Christian Relationships by Jim Wilson. I didn't really know kind of how much bitterness I was holding on to and what impact that was having on my relationship with God, on my relationship with my family, until I read this book. And definitely Jim Wilson does a really great job of explaining why it's important to offer up all of those negative emotions directly to God. Because what society teaches us right now, and maybe it's not just right now, maybe it's been going on for a while, but it's definitely get it off your chest, share your bitterness, share your moaning, just vent. You need to talk about it. It's so important to talk about it, and we're all guilty of that. And that doesn't mean that I never share any negative feelings or emotions that I have, say, with my husband, because sometimes I do really need his input, and so I will talk through something difficult with him. But this book really put it in perspective for me that showing that bitterness to other people, it hurts everyone. So it hurts you because you are deepening that resentment, you're deepening that bitterness because you're like affirming it, you're saying it over and over again. The other person is now getting a bunch of negative emotion laid on them, and also it damages your relationship with God because you haven't taken it to him. You haven't said, hey, I need help with this, take this from me. And ultimately, that was the main takeaway from this book for me, is that every time I had those negative feelings, I had those feelings of bitterness or resentment, like kind of, why do I have to do the dishes again, or something like that, I would just immediately stop in my tracks and say, bitterness, and then I'd say, please, Lord, take that bitterness from my heart. And just, I felt immediately better. It was amazing, actually, how just saying it to God and asking for him to take it from my heart was so helpful. And actually, I think that this book played a really big role in me finally feeling grateful every day. That was a big recurring issue that I had in my life. Even though I knew that I had a great life, I knew that I loved my husband, I felt lucky to have children, I was healthy, I had so many reasons to be grateful, but I just wasn't actually acting like I was grateful, probably 90% of the time. And I think the fact that I started offering up my bitterness and resentment to God and asking for him to take it from me, it really changed my heart. And so now I'm much quicker in myself to just turn a negative thought around and say, hey, maybe that's going on, but wow, what a great life I'm living. Isn't that a beautiful flower? I just had a lovely lunch. Oh, look at my kids playing. Just all of those little things that we overlook when we're kind of getting into the zone of focusing on the negative. So yeah, I can't recommend this book enough. It is absolutely amazing. I will link it below. Again, I got it on Amazon, probably, I think it maybe cost me £10. But who knows, maybe you might get lucky and you'll find it in a charity shop. But I will link it below because it's so great. Okay, the other thing that I want to show you, and then I will also mention a few people that I follow who've been really helpful in guiding me towards more biblical femininity. But this resource will come as no surprise to Catholics, but maybe to other Christians you won't have considered it. But I know that there are some Protestants who do pray the rosary, and the rosary is definitely, I would give the rosary and the Virgin Mary a big huge credit in bringing me to the beauty of the Catholic faith. I've told this story before on my video about why I started to explore Catholicism, and I can link that below as well. But all of that was really catalyzed by my husband, and he definitely, led me to that faith. But the rosary played a big part in our journey there together, because my husband bought a rosary first. And then I thought, well, if you're going to have one, I definitely should have one. I'm curious too now. And so I picked up this is my rosary, my only rosary, and I got it for £1 at a car boot sale in London. I think it was about a week after my husband's had arrived in the mail. And I was like, oh, I'll just have a look at the car boot sale for a rosary. So it's got the Sacred Heart on it. It's got Jesus there with the Sacred Heart, which I love. And it's probably, I don't even know if it's silver, but just kind of vintagey, these little plastic beads. It hasn't been broken yet, which is great. Nobody's broken it. It's been dropped, it's been stuffed in my handbag, it's been in my pocket. But this little thing, which may seem so insignificant, has gotten me through so many difficult moments in the last year. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. I don't always remember to do it every day. We're still trying to kind of formalize the habit that we do the rosary together each night. Sometimes we go through periods where we just don't. And we're also trying to get into the habit with my toddler of getting her to help us say at least a decade of the rosary each night. So right now she just says Hail Mary at the beginning of each Hail Mary. But she's getting better day by day. She's becoming more respectful of the rosary. So I hope that she kind of comes to enjoy it. And she likes to say little prayers to Jesus and to Mary before she goes to bed, because she's got little photos of them above her bed. So I think it's something that brings kind of a lot of fruit to our faith. And it's kind of like a lifeline. It really is. It's like something tangible. You can hold it in difficult moments. I've walked around with it in my pocket. I've just been squeezing it. Sometimes I don't even do a full decade, but I'm just thinking I need to say some Hail Marys right now. And I do. I think that's actually how it started. Actually, I was a bit nervous about a few things, and I just started whenever I felt myself getting nervous or anxious, I just start saying Hail Mary. And it helped. So yeah, I love my rosary. And maybe I'll get another one in the future, but right now this £1 one is working for me just fine. So I can't link that, but there's lots of lovely rosaries on Amazon or Etsy, or just look out for them if you're at a car boot sale. But yeah, I will probably take a little break and just pick up my baby quickly, and then I will tell you about some of the accounts that I follow that really helped me explore biblical femininity more. Hi everyone, so we are a day later. I'm sitting in the same spot I was in yesterday, but I'm wearing different clothes, and it is a different day because I was unable to kind of film anymore yesterday. It ended up being kind of prime time for everybody to need me and to do some nice things with my girls. So I'm just coming back on to tell you about the couple of accounts that I found really inspiring when I was starting to explore femininity, even before I was interested in biblical femininity. And I've mentioned this in another video, that I started to notice a trend when I was exploring kind of homemaking and kind of instinctual motherhood and all of those kind of like graceful, beautiful, feminine things, that the women who, at least to me, seem to be bringing that to life best were Christian women who I was coming across online. I'm sure there's examples in other faiths, but that was my experience, at least, that these women were all Christian, and I thought, that's interesting. I wonder if there's something in that. And so these two accounts that I'm going to mention, they both do an excellent job of speaking to women generally in today's world who need guidance, whether they have faith or not, whether they're Christian or not, but they weave in scripture and how it inspires them and how it might inspire you. And that definitely helped me start to want to explore more of the Bible and kind of what does it mean to be a woman of God? What does biblical femininity actually mean from the scriptures? So the first account that I came across a long time ago, I don't know how long I've been following her, it's probably at least 4 or 5 years, on Instagram, and her account is called Dear Sister. Her name is Christiana. Forgive me if it's actually Christina, but I'm pretty sure it's Christiana. She's a mom, I think, of 5 kids, so she shares stuff about homemaking, but she does a really good job of kind of breaking down in simple, manageable ways what's actually going on in society, why are things going the way that they're going, and how a lot of this, in terms of the confusion around like men and women and gender roles and what does it mean to be a woman, how all of that relates back to kind of actually first wave feminism and what that movement actually stood for, because I've been guilty of this in the past, and I think a lot of women, even Christian women today, are still very confused about what feminism actually means, and they like to kind of pick and choose a little bit about, well, I don't follow this type of feminism because that one's bad, but I follow this type of feminism and that's good. Or people kind of have this misconception that it's just modern feminism that has gone too far, and original feminism, first wave feminism, of course it was good because of course women should have had the vote, and all of those kind of assumptions. So Christiana does a great job of actually breaking down what those first wave feminists really stood for, which is pretty scary, dark stuff. Actually, they were about the breakdown of the family. A lot of them were witches, and it's pretty satanic, the stuff that they wrote. It's all about overturning basically what Christianity is based on, that there is, you know, a hierarchy, that, you know, you need to submit to your husband in the same way that men submit to God. Well, we all submit to God, but, you know, Christ is the head, and then the husband, and then the wife. So first wave feminism was all about overturning that natural order that God designed. So I think whether you have faith or not, whether you're just someone looking to kind of understand a bit more about how things have gone so wrong in society and why men and women are lost, Christiana does a great job of explaining how a lot of those trends in society relate back to feminism and what that movement actually stands for. Not what we think it stands for, not what we would like to believe it stands for, but actually what it is doing to our world, which is not good stuff. So she's brilliant. I know that she also did some YouTube videos a long time ago. I don't know whether she still does, but I'll link her account to Instagram below, and if she still has a YouTube channel, I'll link that as well. And the second account is Little House on the Mountain. Lee is just such a wonderful woman inside and out. I would love to have someone like that in my life, in real life. And she really inspired me in the way that nobody else has to try to be graceful. I think she embodies feminine grace the best way that I have seen. I know that it's just online, but it comes through. It's like something that shines out of her. She's one of those people that is just a joy to watch and to listen to, because she says things with love. You can tell that she really cares about anybody who might be tuning in. She cares about women finding their way. And again, you know, she is someone who is a Christian, but she doesn't there's never a feeling that like she judges you if you're not. So I found her when I had no faith and I wasn't even thinking of exploring it yet, and her messages really resonated with me because it was about, like, you know, finding your way as a woman. What does it mean to be a woman? It's okay to be a woman. It's okay to love being a woman and being feminine and graceful and wearing dresses, and not just going along with what the mainstream says you should be doing, like wearing a power suit and, you know, battling it out for a promotion with the guys in the office, or being one of the lads and going drinking. So I think she has a gift for kind of speaking in a way that makes people listen. You trust her because she's, you know, very kind and patient. I think she takes her time to get the important messages across, combined with just some really beautiful visuals. She's got lovely dogs. She does some great baking and cooking, and her house looks super cozy. So if nothing else, she's worth watching just for like a lovely, calming, feminine influence in your life. Sometimes I just need some of that in my life, and I'm like, oh, I need some peace. I need to go and watch her. So I will link that below as well. But yeah, there's everybody has different resources that they use to kind of become a more biblical woman. I'm sure it's going to take me the rest of my life to fully understand what that means, and I will not perfect it. I don't think that kind of perfection is possible. We can aim for kind of Proverbs 31 woman and those ideals, but we're all imperfect, and, you know, that's okay. As long as we just keep trying our best and keep exploring and seeking truth and listening to what God has planned for us. So I'm just trying to do that on a day-to-day basis, mostly just focusing on serving my family, being a bit more graceful, a bit more feminine, loving those around me properly, and spending more time getting to know God and Jesus, really. That's still something I need to do more of. It's, you know, very much at the beginning of my journey here. So yeah, I appreciate that some of you asked me for these tips, but I'm not an expert. I'm not a long-term Christian, so there's lots of other people that you could tune into who would be able to quote scripture all day long, or really give you some a much longer list of resources about, well, here's this amazing book that somebody wrote exactly how you should be a biblical wife. I haven't read those books yet, maybe I should, but if you have any tips that you'd like to share in the comments, then please do. I would love to hear from you. I always love to hear from you guys. I really appreciate your encouragement, and I appreciate that you tune into these videos even when they're imperfect. I'm just holding this phone up right now. I've got my microphone kind of propped between my thumb and my first finger in the hopes that it doesn't slip. So far it stayed there, but that's why the phone is wiggling, because I haven't got my tripod. But yeah, I really appreciate you all tuning in to my imperfect videos, and leaving lovely comments. That is much appreciated. But I hope to see you all here again soon for the next one. But in the meantime, take good care, everybody, and God bless.